The world woke to a nightmare. A cold dread seeped into the morning air. Something was different, wrong. The usual symphony of city sounds was muted, replaced by an unsettling silence, an alien quiet. People emerged from their homes, blinking in the strange stillness. A sense of unease rippled through the crowds. Whispers turned into anxious murmurs. Then the screams began. The sky tore open, not with thunder, but with something far more terrifying. Shapes descended, unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. They were not ships, not creatures, but something in between, a living technology pulsating with an otherworldly energy. The invasion had begun. Fear became a constant companion, an uninvited guest that refused to leave. It clung to the survivors like a second skin, wrapping around them tighter with each passing day. Paranoia gnawed at their sanity, eroding the last vestiges of hope they clung to. Every shadow seemed to hold a hidden threat, a lurking danger waiting to pounce. Every rustle of leaves spoke of the enemy's approach. Communication systems collapsed, leaving them isolated and vulnerable. The world fractured into isolated pockets of resistance, each group fighting for survival in their own way. Rumours spread like wildfire, tales of unimaginable horrors whispered in hushed tones. Trust evaporated, replaced by suspicion and fear. Neighbours turned on neighbours, fueled by desperation and fear. The bonds of community shattered. The new species, dubbed the Whisperers for their uncanny ability to infiltrate human minds, began their psychological assault. They were unlike any enemy humanity had faced before. They didn't need brute force. Their strength lay in their ability to manipulate and control. They used fear as their weapon, twisting thoughts, planting seeds of doubt, turning humans against each other. The Whisperers thrived on chaos and mistrust. The war had begun, not on the battlefields but within the human mind. It was a war of attrition, where every thought, every whisper could be a weapon. The survivors knew they had to stay vigilant, for the Whisperers could be anywhere, anyone. The line between friend and foe blurred, but amidst the fear and paranoia a spark of resistance remained. They would fight back, not just with weapons, but with their minds, their will to survive. In the darkest of times, hope flickered like a distant star, a reminder that even in the shadows light could still be found. Resources dwindled, food became a luxury, water a treasure. Cities, once symbols of human achievement, transformed into concrete jungles where survival was a daily struggle. The veneer of civilization cracked and crumbled. Laws became meaningless, morality a forgotten concept. Humans, stripped bare of their social constructs, revealed their true nature, both the noble and the monstrous. The strong preyed on the weak, families fractured, torn apart by hunger and desperation. The fight for survival became a brutal, primal struggle, where empathy and compassion were luxuries few could afford. Humanity was tearing itself apart. The Whisperers' psychological warfare intensified. They exploited human vulnerabilities, preying on fears and insecurities. They sowed discord, turning communities against each other. They whispered promises of safety, luring survivors into traps. Some humans, driven mad by fear, embraced the Whisperers, becoming their willing pawns. They betrayed their own kind, lured by the illusion of security in a world gone mad. The lines between friend and foe blurred. Trust became a dangerous gamble. The Whisperers' influence spread like a virus, infecting the human psyche. They didn't conquer through force, but through subversion, turning humanity's greatest strength, its intelligence, into its greatest weakness. The war for survival became a battle for the human soul. Section 5. Adapting to the nightmare. Despite the horrors, humanity showed remarkable resilience. Small groups of survivors banded together, forging alliances based on necessity and a shared will to survive. They learned to fight back, adapting to the Whisperers' tactics. They developed new technologies, weapons designed to counter the Whisperers' psychological attacks. They learned to communicate through encrypted channels, bypassing the Whisperers' surveillance. They rediscovered the power of community, finding strength in unity. Human ingenuity, sparked by the fires of desperation, began to turn the tide. They learned to exploit the Whisperers' weaknesses, turning their own tactics against them. The fight was far from over, but a flicker of hope ignited in the darkness. Section 6. Echoes of brutality. The war left deep scars on humanity. The brutality of the conflict unleashed the darkest aspects of human nature. Acts of unspeakable cruelty became commonplace. Survival often came at a terrible cost. Children grew up in a world where violence was the norm, their innocence stolen by the horrors they witnessed. The old ways, the values of a civilized society, faded into distant memories. Humanity was changing, adapting to a world ruled by fear and survival. The echoes of brutality reverberated through the shattered remnants of human society. The war had not only changed the world, but it had also changed humanity itself, leaving an indelible mark on its soul. Section 7. The shifting sands of morality. The lines between good and evil blurred as the world descended into chaos. In a world where survival was paramount, moral compromises became commonplace. People who once held strong ethical beliefs found themselves making decisions they never thought possible. Acts of violence, once considered unthinkable, became necessary for survival. The need to protect oneself and loved ones often led to actions that left deep scars on the soul. The concept of justice became fluid, adapting to the harsh realities of the new world. Traditional laws and norms were replaced by makeshift rules, often enforced by those with the most power. Retribution became swift and brutal. In the absence of a formal legal system, people took the law into their own hands, often with devastating consequences. Mercy, a luxury few could afford, was rarely shown. The harsh environment bred a sense of indifference, as people focused solely on their own survival. The old moral compass shattered, replaced by a new code of ethics dictated by survival. The values that once guided humanity were discarded, replaced by a primal instinct to endure. The war forced humanity to confront the darkest aspects of its own nature. People were pushed to their limits, revealing both the best and worst of human behavior. The choices made in the name of survival haunted the survivors, blurring the lines between victim and perpetrator. The weight of their actions lingered, casting long shadows over their lives. The fight for survival had become a battle for the very soul of humanity. In the end, it was not just about living another day, but about preserving what it meant to be human in a world that had lost its way. Section 8. A world reforged. The war eventually ended not with a decisive victory, but with an uneasy truce. The battles had raged on for years, leaving behind a trail of devastation and loss. The truce was a fragile thread holding together the remnants of a world that had been torn apart. Humanity had survived, but at a terrible cost. Cities lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost. The survivors carried the weight of their experiences, their faces etched with the pain of what they had endured. Medical tents became sanctuaries for the wounded, both physically and emotionally. The world was irrevocably changed. Landmarks that once stood as symbols of human achievement were now broken and overgrown. The remnants of the old world were a stark contrast to the emerging new order. The old order was gone, replaced by a new, uncertain future. Abandoned streets began to see new construction, a blend of the old and the futuristic. The rebuilding process was slow and fraught with challenges, but it was a testament to human resilience. The Whisperers remained, a constant reminder of the fragility of human existence. These mysterious entities had changed the course of history, and their presence was now woven into the fabric of the new world. Their eerie structures dotted the cityscape, a haunting reminder of the past. Humanity had learned to coexist with its new adversary, but the scars of the conflict remained, etched deep into the collective consciousness. Memorials of war were erected, and communities came together to rebuild what had been lost. The haunted expressions of the people told stories of resilience and hope. The world had been reforged in the fires of conflict. From the ashes of destruction, a new era began to take shape. Industrial rebirth was evident as cities started to rise from the ruins, symbolizing the indomitable spirit of humanity. Humanity had emerged, scarred but resilient, into a new era. People came out of their bunkers, greeted by the sunrise over a city being rebuilt. The scenes of resilient communities working together were a beacon of hope for the future. A world where the whispers of the past served as a constant reminder of the price of survival. The shadows in the streets whispered of past conflicts, and people often looked back in fear, remembering the cost of their survival. A world where the fight for humanity's future had just begun. Determined faces at community meetings and the development of futuristic technology for defense showed that while the war had ended, the struggle for a secure and prosperous future was far from over.